All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Representative Hulda Mamanyi Hiltsley. Thank you so much for being here. I have the honor and the privilege of representing Senate District 38A. That is Brooklyn Park and Osseo, so the northwest suburbs. And it is truly an honor to stand here with community as we prepare to bring the housing bill to the floor this week, the housing budget bill to the floor this week. I want to first again thank the community and the members who have advocated for this bill, alongside organizations who have poured their heart into supporting this work, that the support is not just basic support. It is critical for our families across not only my district, but across the whole entire state of Minnesota. So your reason for being here, you are the reason for why we're here today. So with that, one of the most vital pieces of the housing budget bill is the investment in family homelessness prevention and assistance program, also known as FHPAP. It basically, in its steps, in early stages of the program, it is providing emergency rental assistance, mortgage support, and utility help before a family falls into homelessness. And we know what happens when families fall into homelessness. It's definitely harder to bring them out of homelessness than keeping them, bringing them out of homelessness instead of having them go into homelessness. It does this with compassion, flexibility, and a deep community partnership. And that's why you see everyone behind me, because this is a community effort. With that, I am honored to have our speakers here to share their stories. We will kick it off with Jenny Larson, and she is an amazing executive director from Three Rivers Community Action. She drove all the way here just so to make a point how important this is, not only in the urban areas, but also in rural Minnesota, where our families are really struggling with homelessness. So I want to welcome her here to make her remarks, and then we'll continue. Thank you.
Right. Good afternoon. Thank you, Representative. My name is Jenny Larson. I'm the Executive Director of Three Rivers Community Action. Three Rivers is a nonprofit that works with community partners to address a wide range of needs for individuals and families. We work across the housing continuum in a 4-county region in southeast Minnesota. We have office locations in Goodhue, Rice, Olmsted, and Wabasha counties, and we serve people across the entire southeast part of the state. Three Rivers provides services and operates programs for every stage of life. We help families experiencing homelessness find new housing. We intervene to keep families out of homelessness. We own and operate 715 affordable rental units. We have helped over 700 families purchase their first home. And we have built over 1,000 single-family and multifamily homes across the region. These results have only been possible because of the investment the state has made to address the urgent housing needs in Minnesota. Today, I join advocates and practitioners across the state to support the House Housing Omnibus Bill and that makes investments in housing programs that Minnesota needs now. I specifically want to mention the Family Homeless Prevention and Assistance Program, the FHPAP program. Three Rivers is the administrator of FHPAP in a 20-county region in southeast Minnesota. We serve families of all backgrounds. We help renters, we help homeowners, we help folks in rural communities and in our small cities in the region. There is need everywhere. FHPAP is a program that helps keep people stably housed. This means that they are able to maintain their employment, they can stay in their same school district, and they can remain involved in their community. This investment is fiscally responsible. We calculate that on average, it costs us about $3,500 to help resolve a crisis in a household. Without FHPAP to help us provide this crisis funding, we estimate it could cost as much as $45,000 to bring that same family out of homelessness. This crisis intervention funding is more important than ever, especially as we look at possible changes to federal assistance programs like the heating assistance funding. I want to thank the House for their work on their bill. The House is making responsible investments that balance keeping Minnesotans in their homes and producing more homes, including homeownership. And the House bill is a commitment to families, a recognition that housing is the foundation. Without a home, nothing else matters. Next, I'm really pleased to introduce Miera Allen, who's going to tell us a little bit about her story.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Miera Allen. I am a proud mother and provider of 6 beautiful children, and I work hard every day to give them the life that they deserve. But with the rising cost of living and being a single provider has become harder than ever. So no matter how much I give, it never seems to be enough. So there were moments when I fell behind. Moments of fear, uncertainty, and exhaustion, just wondering how I'm going to keep a roof over me and my children's head. And so in those moments, programs like the Homeless Prevention and Assistance Program were there for me. They gave me what every parent hopes for, a sense of stability, dignity, and hope. These services are not just about housing. They are about keeping families together, giving children a safe place to grow, and giving parents like me a chance to breathe, to rebuild, and to continue striving forward to a better future. When families are given the foundation of stable and affordable housing, we can do more than survive. We can thrive. We can grow into strong neighbors, community members, and leaders who give back and uplift each other. And so I'm living proof of what can be possible when families are supported. And I am forever grateful for that opportunity. A lot of us don't have family to lean on. So programs like this are great for families like me. And I want to say thank you to the House and everybody who supports this. And I'll pass it along.
Thank you so much, Miera. I will also read a statement from another community member who has also benefited from this program. Her name is Ebony McMillan, and this is her written remarks. Hi, my name is Ebony McMillan. I'm 40 years old, mother of 4. I have a 23-year-old daughter, a 12-year-old daughter, a 6-year-old twins, a boy and a girl, and I never thought I would experience homelessness, but it happened twice. First, as a teenage mother trying to build a future, then again later in life, married with children after facing ethical housing management. It was devastating. That's when the Family Homelessness Prevention and Assistance Program really stepped in. Mary Jo from Mary's Place welcomed us without judgment. She helped me understand my rights, access legal help, and get back on my feet. They provided transportation, spiritual support, and most importantly, stability for my kids. Thanks to FHPAP, I've been stably housed 5 years in Brooklyn Park, my district, and now 6 years in Brooklyn Center, raising my children with safety and hope. This program gives us more housing, more than just housing. It gives us the tools to rebuild our lives. With that, I believe I'm going to call Nelima up for a quick statement. She is the executive director of ACER, an organization that I've had the privilege of partnering with for quite a long time that is working really hard to make sure that folks are housed. Thank you, Nelima.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Nelima Sitati Munene. I'm the Executive Director of ACER, the African Career Education and Resources, Inc., and our organization works to close the inequity gaps that exist within our communities. And today I am going to read a statement from one of our community members, who's also one of our tenant leaders, who has also accessed the program. And she might be on her way shortly, but she's at work. So My name is Tamita Gaines, and I have been renting in Minnesota for over 20 years. I returned recently after COVID-19 forced me to leave due to staff cuts at my place of work and a lack of affordable housing. Now I work as a customer service associate at Allina Health. I assist patients with appointments and insurance. Despite my critical role, I am underpaid and unprotected. After leaving my previous employment over payroll issues, I accepted a $3 per hour pay cut at my current job. Additionally, short-term disability only covers 60% of my income if I get sick, which is insufficient to cover rent. I fell behind rent because healthcare wages don't match the cost of living, and employers offer no real safety net when workers face illness. My story isn't unique. Thousands of Minnesotans are one missed paycheck or medical emergency away from losing their home, especially with rent skyrocketing post-COVID. Fortunately, FHPAP rental assistance provided me with the support needed to remain housed. Without it, I would have been forced to leave my home state of Minnesota once again, thus being separated from my community, job, and opportunities for stability. This program not only offered assistance, but also enabled me to continue working, healing, and striving for an improved life. No one who works full-time should struggle with homelessness. Individuals should not be forced to leave their state due to inadequate wages for rent. Housing contributes to health and dignity, and FHPAP plays a significant role in maintaining housing stability and addressing the homeless crisis in Minnesota. Therefore, it is important for Minnesota lawmakers to consider continued additional funding for FHPAP. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nalima. Once again, as we close here, going back to what Ms. Jenny Larson spoke on, we know that when families are stable, communities are stronger. And we know that prevention is both a moral right and physically smart. It costs about, again, as Jenny said, $3,500 to keep families housed through this program, compared to more than $45,000. Just keep that in mind, $45,000 to help them recover after they have lost their home. When we talk about housing, we're not just talking about structure. We're talking about stability. We're talking about dignity. We are talking about safety and opportunity for Minnesota families. At the heart of this bill, and at the heart of this moment, is a simple but yet powerful truth. We have a duty to make sure Minnesota families do not fall into homelessness. That is all of us doing our job. So today, I am standing here with my colleagues from the House saying we stand in support of this housing budget bill, specifically in support of the Family Homelessness Prevention and Assistance Program, because we know how critical it is for our families, both in the urban areas, the Twin Cities, and across the whole entire state of Minnesota. So I am urging my colleagues out there, as we debate this bill on the floor, join me in supporting House File 2298, not just for the numbers, not just for savings, but for the families, the children, the seniors, and the future of this state. Let's meet this moment with compassion, courage, and with action that our community deserves, that our community elected us to do. So with that, I want to open it up for questions and definitely extend my thank you to all of the news media coverage that we have received today, because this is important.
As far as the differences between the House and Senate versions of this, how far does $20 million go in regards to this program?
So when I think about the difference between the House and the Senate bill, again, you've mentioned is the 20 million, right? For me, I think about the root core factor in all of this. We're talking about individuals, we're talking about families. So it's better to have something than not to have anything. So 20 million makes sure that my sister here Miera has housing. So we have a lot of work to do, especially when we go to the next stage of the conference committees, to make sure that we come up with a bill that actually addresses Minnesota families. Not just, again, like I said, this is not just a number, it's about families, making sure that we're keeping them out of being homeless.
Can you talk about maybe some of the other provisions of the housing bill as it relates to getting at, communities who might be vulnerable and also maybe long-term, being able to attain for consistent affordable housing? Like, I know there's some other, I think, grants and stuff in the housing bill too today.
Absolutely. I can't specifically speak on other grants, but I know that Ms. Larson has worked in this space. She's an expert in this area. But I know that Chair Igo and Chair Howard were very intentional in terms of making sure we do have additional support system in terms of the housing bill in general. Today, we just wanted to focus on the homelessness prevention and assistance program. But if there's something that you want to contribute to that too.
Sure. I would just state that we can't solve homelessness without having housing. What I like about this bill is that it includes funding for the actual provision of new housing units, and some of those including the most vulnerable populations. So there's $100 million for the housing infrastructure bond program. That's a production program. There's $10 million for the Challenge Fund. That's a production program that actually encourages our local communities to also invest in housing. So it's not just the state investing, it's our communities investing as well. There's the Affordable and Workforce Homeownership Program. I probably have the name of that wrong. That's $3 million. That's for affordable home ownership initiatives. And so making sure that we have funds to produce housing and we have funds to stabilize and support households who are experiencing immediate crises is really important. And it's fantastic that this bill is including both of those and that they're doing things that are going to work statewide. What I didn't mention is there's provisions in the bill for Greater Minnesota specifically, where the resources are a lot further apart and less defined. So putting infrastructure and workforce housing funding together that will serve Greater Minnesota is really important too.
I know there was a FHPAP task force a year or two ago that was looking at how to better and more quickly distribute the funds in this program. This might be a question for Jenny, but can anyone speak to what progress has been made out of that? Have there been any tweaks to the program to make it easier? And is there more work to be done on that front?
And you can definitely speak on it, but what I can say about that is that I got into this work because I was working in the community and folks were reaching out asking for help in terms of finding housing because they were homeless, right? And so FHPAP was one of those programs that even before I even got into the House that I looked into. And by the time I even got there, the funds were already depleted, right? And so, I worked with organizations like ACER to, figure out what other options we had. And one of the things was like, well, let's just apply to see if we can be on the wait list, right? And as I was going through the application, I was like, this is very lengthy. But at the same time, too, we want to make sure that we are making it easier for families to get access to this funding. So with that.
I think one thing I would just add is that as local providers, we all have advisory committees that work within our regions, whatever our service area is. Mine's quite large. The metros, they're a little smaller geography. But we put advisory committees together, including people with lived experience. And other partners in the community. And we listen. They advise us on how are we prioritizing the needs, because there's not enough funding to go around, right? We can't help everybody who calls us. There's always a waiting list. There's always somebody who calls at the wrong time because the funds have been depleted. And so how are we putting priority lists together to make sure that we're serving people with the most urgent needs and that we can get to as many people as possible as quickly as possible?
What did Republicans support for this as well?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. Homelessness is not a partisan issue. I think we can all agree on that. So I've had the privilege of sitting in the Housing Committee, and I have seen how IGO and Chair Howard have worked together, partnered together. And if you look at the housing bill, the budget bill overall, you know, the FHPAP is on the top of that budget, right? So that goes to show you that, you know, it is important to everyone. It doesn't matter what part of the, you know, aisle you sit on. And again, this is not just an urban issue. This is a state issue. And so coming together, I think it was just amazing to see all of us in the Housing Committee come together and say, this is important. And because it's important, we are going to invest a majority of our targets on this program.
I've heard a few times, and this is just a question for anybody who would want to answer, the talk about funds depleting. Are the funds currently depleted, those funds that would have been allocated in 2023? Or do we know where the funds stand for this program right now?
As far as I know, they are depleted, so that's why we're trying to
Yeah,
add to
the
that.
state actually asks us to distribute them quarterly, so that we don't spend them all in the first year of a biennium, so that we have funds to go on continuously. So the way we do it at Three Rivers is we have a system where we allocate it by county and our service area, and then some of our locations, those funds might run out more quickly, but we open it up quarterly. And then we work through our process and we get to as many households as we can. And so I'm not sure how other providers are doing it, but I would guess that all of them run out of money before the end of the time period that it's set aside for.
And then also keeping in mind too, the need is there. Originally, when we were looking at how much we wanted to really push for this program, you know, when we look at this issue, we're looking at a $300 million shortage. That's the need that we have in our community. So we start off with, you know, a very conservative, you know, there was a 100 million that had originally, you know, suggested, and then we went to 75, and then we went to 50, and then now here we are in the House where we settled on 30 million. So the need is there. Unfortunately, you know, the funding is what we are still trying to figure out how that will work out eventually.
There's such a tight target in, you know, in the House's version. How do you think this became the part of the bill that had the most appropriations attached?
Again, it goes back to the core point of this bill. We are trying to make sure that families are housed. And this program right here has proven time and time again that it does just that. You know, providers who are able to, you know, make sure that they are executing on this program have seen time and time again what this program does. So ultimately for us, you know, when we were sitting there debating where we should invest a lot of the funding, very limited funding that we had, right? This program was on top of that list, of that priority.
We have time for one more question. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you.